All right. Good afternoon. I'm Laura Peel, JWB Director of Information Technology and your technology moderator. Board members, I want to take a roll call to verify that audio communication is working. Please say present to indicate that you can hear me now. Please mute your device until you're called on to speak. Susan Ralston.
Present.
Mike McCurrick.
Present.
Rick Butler. Rick, can you unmute?
Present.
Thank
Can you hear me now?
Brian Ongst.
Present.
Bob Dillinger.
Present.
Dr. Grego.
Present.
Bernie McCabe.
I'm here.
Chief Milliken.
Present.
Judge Moore.
Present.
Karen Seal.
Present.
Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to our CEO, Beth Houghton.
I'm Beth Houghton, CEO at JWB. This final budget hearing of the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County is being conducted remotely, consistent with Florida Governor DeSantis' Executive Order 20-69 of March 20th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency throughout the state of Florida, given the outbreak of the novel coronavirus COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus and reduce risk of COVID-19 illness, we've been advised and directed by the state to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order EO 20-69 suspends the requirement of the Sunshine Law to have all meetings in a specific public place and to require a quorum to be present in person. EO 2069 has been extended by EO 20-193 and amended by EO 20-179 to allow our truth and millage or TRIM hearings to be conducted virtually. These executive orders posted on JWB's public notices website allows public bodies to utilize communications media technology to conduct its business. For this meeting, JWB is convening via Zoom webinar and telephone conference posted on our website, which clarifies how the public may join and participate. In compliance with section 200.65 of the Florida statutes, the Pinellas County property appraiser mailed the truth and millage or TRIM notice on August 24th, 2020. In accordance with chapter 200 of the Florida statutes, on September 27th, 2020, JWB published the notice of the proposed tax increase and budget summary in the Tampa Bay Times. Please note this TRIM hearing is being recorded on Zoom webinar and YouTube Live. Also, some attendees are participating by telephone conference. Participants are advised that people may be listening who do not provide comment, and those persons are not required to identify themselves. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording and will become a part of the public records of the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County. Laura Peel, JWB Director of Information Technology, will serve as the technology moderator of the remote participation by JWB board members, JWB staff, presenters, and the public.
So please permit me to confirm that persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Beth Houghton.
Yes.
Judith Warren.
Yes.
Laura Brock.
Yes.
Linda Leedy.
Yes.
Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Colleen Flynn.
Yes.
Diana Caro.
Yes.
Lynn Delator.
Yes.
Thank you.
All of the materials for this public hearing are posted on JWB's website with the agenda for the meeting, and we recommend that JWB's board members and the public follow the agenda as posted unless we note otherwise. We're now turning to our budget hearing process, but before we do that, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will ask staff to present the proposed fiscal year 21 budget components. After staff has presented, the chair will call for public comments. please use the raise hand feature in Zoom webinar or press *9 if you are on a telephone conference line to be recognized to speak. The moderator will call on each person by name or the last 4 digits of the call-in number, allowing 3 minutes for comment. When the chair calls for board discussion, please physically raise your hand in Zoom webinar to be recognized. And if you are on a telephone conference line, please press *9 so the moderator may unmute your line. Finally, each vote will be taken as a roll call vote. And further, for all participants, board members, staff, and the public, please remember to mute your phone or device when you are not speaking. And please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. With that, I'll turn the millage and budget hearing over to Mrs. Ralston, JWB Board Chair.
Well, thank you. We'll call our meeting to order. And welcome to Juvenile Welfare Board's final public hearing for the fiscal year 21 millage rate and budget. We'll begin with the presentation of the fiscal year 21 final millage rate. Laura Brock, I think you're going to present that information to us.
I am, and I am going to share. Did I not do this right? Hold on a minute.
Yes, that looks correct.
Oh, that does. Okay. So, yes, we're here tonight to discuss the final millage and the budget presentation. We have 2 presentations that we'll go through. The first item here, let's see here. Having problems here.
Can you select enter to move to the next screen? Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried that. That's not wanting to work here. Hold on. Of course, we practice this.
Go ahead and unshare and then share it again.
Stop sharing. All right.
Make sure you can move through the presentation while you're not sharing.
I apologize as I get my mouse to work. Do
we want to go to the backup person?
Yeah, Linda, can you?
Yes.
Hold that up for me? Thank you.
Always good to have a backup.
Thank you. Okay, so yes, we are here to discuss the final millage and the budget. So Beth touched a little bit on this. Again, August 24th is when the property appraiser mailed the trim notices. And then September 10th, we had this was posted. The 15th, we had our first public hearing. And then the 27th in the newspaper, we just saw that over the weekend. And here we are today on the 29th to vote on the final hearing. Next slide. So here's a history of the millage rate. And as you can see, the millage rate has been 0.8981 for the last several years since fiscal year 13. Next slide. And this generates a ad valorem taxes of $78.22 million, which is about a $3.9 million increase from the previous year. And we'll see from the memo that was sent along with your packet how those funds are being spent, along with some of the unassigned fund balance money. We're including funds for the RFA, $1.25 million, $1 million for the COLAs to the eligible programs, $1.1 million for future programming, funding for the strategic plan, and another $1 million for the contingency. Next slide. So with that millage rate, it does generate property valuation of $91.7 billion, a 7.3% increase. As we know, we need a 2/3 vote tonight to approve this at the rate of 0.8981. Again, no change in that rate since fiscal 13. This is a 6.12% amount increase from the rollback of 0.8463. This yields, as the previous slide demonstrated, 78.2 million, and the maximum millage rate allowed with the majority is the 0.8950. Next slide. So the key forecast assumptions that we used is we updated the fiscal 20 projected lapse, which is about 16.14%, and that'll increase the beginning balance moving forward into next year. We are projecting lapse going forward of about 10.3%. We've also factored in property values that will have a decrease of 4% in fiscal 22. And we have followed that with increases of 1% and 2% respectively. And that's pretty much mirroring the assumptions that Pinellas County has been using. The unassigned fund balance gives us a 24% percentage of our unassigned fund balance to expenditures, and that clearly exceeds the 8.3% target that we have. Going forward beyond fiscal 21, the funding for the capital RFA will continue at $1 million. Future funding for programming will continue at 1.5, and we'll keep the cost of living adjustments for eligible programs going forward. So the next slide shows you the forecast that we've been using and looking at. And again, this reiterates the information that I have just stated. So you're seeing in the column to the right of the blue is where we are with the projected fiscal 21 year. And then moving forward, just kind of looking at a forecast. And we went through several scenarios, this being scenario number 3, which was kind of what we determined would be maybe the most accurate based in this black ball that we're looking at, not knowing what's going to happen with COVID-19 and with funding going forward. So next slide will be any questions that we have, and I'll turn it back over to Chair Walston.
You're on mute.
Sorry.
It's okay.
This is an opportunity for the public to ask any questions or make any comments specifically about the millage rate. We handle these in 2 different topics, millage rate first, budget second, but this is an opportunity for the public. So Laura, I'm going to Laura Peel. Is there any raised hands or comments coming in from participants?
I'm going to give it just a moment, but I actually don't see any public, anybody in the audience is public. So I will say at this time, we do not have anybody.
All right, board members, any comments before we ask Beth Houghton to read the resolution? Opportunity for board members to discuss any of this before we ask Beth to get started. All right, Beth, time to read the resolution for the millage rate.
Resolution for fiscal year 21-03, a resolution of the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, adopting the final levying of ad valorem taxes for Pinellas County for fiscal year 2021, providing for an effective date. Whereas the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, on September 29, 2020, adopted fiscal year final millage rate following a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065, and whereas the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, held a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065, and where the gross taxable value for operating purposes not exempt from taxation within Pinellas County has been certified by the county property appraiser to the Juvenile Welfare Board as $91,683,159,071. Now therefore be it resolved by the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, that the fiscal year 21 operating millage rate is 0.8981 mils, which is greater than the rolled back rate of 0.8463 mils by 6.12%. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption.
I ask our board members to call for a motion and a second to adopt the millage rate.
So motion.
Thank you, Mr. McCurrick. A second?
Second.
Mr. Milligan, is that you?
Yes.
All right. Laura, do you want to do the roll call vote, please?
Sure. Board members, when I call your name, please state your vote. Susan Ralston,
Yes.
Mike McCurrick,
Yes.
Rick Butler,
Yes.
Brian Ongst,
Yes.
Bob Dillinger,
Yes.
Dr. Grego,
Yes.
Bernie McCabe,
Yes.
Chief Milliken,
Yes.
Judge Moore,
Yes.
Karen Seal.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have 100% attendance of our board and a unanimous vote of approval. So we can move on to the second topic for tonight, which is the presentation of fiscal year 21 final budget. Laura Brock, do you want to review?
Yes, I would be delighted to. So Linda, if you want to pull up the rest of that presentation. So we are now kicking over to the budget. So I just wanted to point out, this was a slide that you had last year, which addressed the changes that you had since the first hearing to the final hearing. And last year we had 12 changes to the budget, which affected each one of the focus areas. And what that means is there were a lot of scrambling perhaps at the end of last year with budgets and with contracts and so forth. And I'm happy to say that this year we have no changes since the first hearing numbers that you looked at. So I just wanted to applaud our staff so working so diligently to get this moved forward so we didn't have those changes. Having said that, next slide, just a quick review of the revenue budget. So we see the ad valorem numbers have increased, as I mentioned earlier, by 3.8 million. And we're using a percentage of collection of 95%. You can see the interest rate, we are budgeting for 650,000 due to the current rates. Next slide, this is the changes in the fund balance. Again, we've adjusted the opening fund balance to agree with where we are in the current fiscal year. And then you can see the ending balances. And we do anticipate using some unrestricted funds going into next year's budget of $3.1 million. Next slide. On the program expenditure side, our program continuation is pretty much in line with what it was a year ago. Our COLAs for the eligible programs for lapse reduction comes in at $1,047,000, which is $130,000 higher than the previous year. As you know, the RFA for capital technology, we increased that to 1.25. The RFA has been released and we're starting to get requests for that RFA. Future programming, we've kept that at 1.1, no change there. And contingency, we had originally started off last year with a budget of 500. We did increase that during the year. So going into fiscal 21, we've decided that a contingency of $1 million would be more appropriate to maybe address any future needs that we might have. On the next slide, this is a pie chart. Sometimes it's easier to see how your money is being spent. And you can see between the different focus areas where we have how the monies are being allocated between school success at 32% and prevention and abuse and neglect at 37%. Next slide. On the budget administration, you can see where we've got a change of one full-time equivalent. Benefit amounts are changing, nominal operating expenses, and we still stay within the targeted administrative rate for the proposed fiscal year 21. That amount is 7.4%. Next slide. This is a 3-year presentation budget trend as far as how the funds have been spent, and these are the amended budgets for the previous years comparing to the proposed budget. And the next slide concludes that. Again, any questions that anyone may have, be delighted to answer. You do also have in your packet handout is the budget fiscal 21 workbook that we'll be able to release once this has been approved. And I'll turn it back over to Chair Ralston. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go for public comment, I just want to draw attention to the future programming line item that since we've approved our strategic plan, we didn't re-budget. We will be using that future programming line item to fund some of the initiatives and strategies for our new strategic plan for our new focus area. So I just wanted to make sure we drew attention to that. So at this time, I'll ask Laura Peel if there's any request for public comment.
Again, I'm giving it another moment, but I do not see any members of the public in attendance. So I'll go ahead and say there are no raised hands.
How about other board members? Anybody have a comment on the budget before we proceed with the resolution? All right, hearing no requests for comment or discussion. Beth, would you read the resolution?
Resolution fiscal year 21-04, a resolution of the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2021, providing for an effective date. Whereas the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, on September 29th, 2020, held a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065, and whereas the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, set forth the appropriations and revenue estimate for the budget for fiscal year 2021 in the amount of $113,653,985. Now therefore be it resolved by the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, that the fiscal year 2021 final budget be adopted. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption.
Very good, thank you, Beth. I invite the board members to call for a motion and a second to approve and adopt the resolution.
Dillinger, so moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ongst. Laura, do you want to do the roll call vote, please?
Sure. Board members, when I call your name, please state your vote. Susan Ralston.
Yes.
Mike McCurrick.
Yes.
Rick Butler.
Yes.
Brian Ongst.
Yes.
Bob Dillinger.
Yes.
Dr. Grego.
Yes.
Bernie McCabe.
Yes.
Chief Milliken.
Yes.
Judge Moore.
Yes.
And Karen Seal.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, 100% adoption. And this concludes the agenda for the final of 2 trim hearings. So at this moment, I'll call for a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So move, Milliken.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, our trim hearing is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.